Go. Hey, welcome back again to the Painfully Honest Tech Podcast. My name is Jason, sometimes known as the JTL. My friend over here is Mr. Adam Matlock, otherwise known as the Tech Odyssey. I always like to put "the" in front of things because it sounds like old timey or something.
It's like an official title, the Tech Odyssey.
Yeah, well, it's like when I made my first Gmail account. Of course, I couldn't get my just my name, right? So
someone else stole it.
Yeah, so I got the Jason T. Lewis, and then I've just been I've been putting "the" in front of things ever since.
I don't even want to talk about my first email address, and it's still associated with some things. So for some of you people out there who are not of age, and I've had the same. My original email address was created in 1994. I still use it for certain things. But it's very embarrassing sometimes because I was 10. So some things, someone's like, "Let me spell out your email address." I'm like,
was it your gamer tag as well? Because that was very popular.
It was not. No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, I know.
It is now, but not then.
I know a lot of people who made their gamer tags like something completely inappropriate, and then they just carried it over to an email. And then when they became adults and had to get a job, they were like, well, "What do I do?"
I actually have a funny story about that. So
I was at CES a couple of weeks ago, and I had a chance to go over to the Venetian and see the Leifin Wave oscillating toothbrush, a brand new toothbrush from the folks over at Leifin. Leifin went viral not long ago with their high-speed hair dryer, and now they're back at it with this Wave toothbrush. It's the first brush that doesn't only vibrate, but it also oscillates at 60 degrees. It gives you 3 times the brushing power. It has an app for customization, and you get that dual action of vibration and oscillation. Each one offers extraordinary craftsmanship, as well as an ergonomic design that gives you a 45-degree angle at the base. Go over to their website, link down in the description below, and until February 16th, you can enter to win a Leifin Wave for yourself.
So when I was in law school, one of my law professors, he was my oil and gas professor, and he was pretty prominent. Like he was pretty big in the oil and gas scene here, and he got on with a firm, and somehow his email address got added onto like their work email distro list. It wasn't like I don't know what it was, but it was like Senior Lover Boy or something. And then it ended up in all the like work correspondence emails, and people like, "Who is this guy?" He's like, "That's mine. That wasn't supposed to be on the official email distro list. That's my personal email."
Yeah. It's funny though, because like we kind of, I definitely but you kind of also grew up in the generation where like we weren't born with an email address, like we had to choose one at some point, and we didn't get one from school. We didn't get any, like, I think I had an email address in college, but
man, my kids they're all like teenagers now. My 15-year-old son legit has like 3 email addresses, and 2 of them are school email addresses.
Right. Yeah. And I just like, I'm going to turn on, do I sound better? My EQ is like all weird.
Sounds fine to me. I don't notice any tangible difference, but the audience may.
Yeah, I'll just go with this. I don't know what's going on with this device. I leave it set on the same thing, and it sounds weird all the time. I'm wearing different headphones. Maybe that's it. But yeah, it's like we had computer labs when I was in college, and we didn't really have computer labs when I was in like high school. I think there was one, but it wasn't like you had to go there. People still took typing.
Yeah, that was my first real job. So I mowed lawns when I was a teenager, but my first job once I got into college, I worked part-time at the community college in one of these computer labs. And I was one of the assistants that would help people get logged in and use the programs, because it was like the advent of everybody was really starting to use personal computers for word processing. And I worked in the English department. Yeah. I was in the English lab, so I would help the professors with the students during their like English classes when they were like writing papers and all that crap. So yeah. Back then, though, a lot of people didn't have computers at home, even the year 2000.
I didn't have a computer available to me like where I lived until 1991, I guess. And that was when I had started dating Teresa, my now wife, which tells you how old I am and how long we've been together. But her parents they had bought a new Mac, and they gave it to her to take to her to college to write papers and stuff, because she was going to have to write more stuff that year because of her schedule or something. And so she just brought it over and left it at my desk because she was there more often than her place. Whatever, you know how it goes.
Yeah.
So that was the first computer that I had available to me, in my home. I had typewriters, and then I had a Brother word processor with a little fold-up screen.
Yeah, a little LCD screen, that little dot matrix screen.
Yeah, and that was it. You could type your paper into the word processor, and you could you could edit it, but the screen was only it was 6 inches long and 1 inch high or something.
Cursor.
Yeah, so you could edit, and then you could print it like it was a typewriter. It was very weird. So
we are going to talk about real stuff at some point in time.
Well, this is tech. I mean, but now we've got such crazy things like the Vision Pro, which, I know it. We talked about the Vision Pro for a long time last week, and I'm still in my Vision Pro experience right now. I've got it here. It's got its.
Jason was kind enough to take it off long enough that we could do the podcast.
Yeah, it's got its little sock on. It's kind of pleated like a sock and stuff. So
it reminds me of ski socks.
Yeah, it's got a definite sort of ski goggle vibe to it.
You know what it really that design really reminds me of? The old school Star Trek movie officer uniforms, and they had that. Yeah, it looks like the part of the uniform.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It kind of does have that sort of space aged thing, and it's a very interesting design because they've got the crown, the digital crown like they have on the Apple Watch, and then they've got a power button that's sort of similar to an iPhone or an iPad. It's talking to me. I don't know why.
It misses you.
I still haven't really figured out how this thing turns off or on. It turns on when I put it on my face, and I can turn it off manually by pressing the crown and the button until it gives me the little slider to turn it off. But
I wanted to try something. I found an image. Let me see if I can share this, because I have the option to share. Look, see the collars.
Oh yeah. Let's bring this in. There we go.
There we go. Oh, where'd it go? Oh, there we go. I lost it. Oh my gosh. There we go. All right.
Yeah, it does kind of look like the collars. That's
back in the. It's amazing I even remember that.
I know, and her has got her. Yeah, it's like a little turtleneck type thing.
Yeah, I saw it. I'm like, man, this what that reminds me of. Anyway, so let me stop sharing. But hey, we're moving up in the world. We can share our screens now.
I know,
it's pretty things.
It's pretty crazy. But I forgot to close the door to my utility room so you can hear my heater running, which makes it less impressive and professional. But hey,
it's cold up there right now, I think, because I was looking at the weather today, and it's supposed to be, so it's 80 yesterday, 70 today. Tomorrow is going to be 39 degrees again. I'm like, it's a miracle people are not always sick around here.
Yeah, it was 40 something and sunny yesterday, and then I woke up this morning and there was a quarter of an inch to half an inch of snow on the ground, and I was just like, and I've hit that point in this winter where I'm just like, okay, we had one big snowstorm and it just sticks around forever, and it's now melted off, and I'm kind of ready for no more snow, and it just hasn't happened yet.
You know what I found though? I heard this a long time ago, is that it really seems to be holding up. It's the older you get, the more you talk about the weather. And
Yes.
it seems like anytime I talk to my grandma or I talk to anyone who's older in my family, at least in the first 2 to 3 minutes of the conversation, we're talking about the weather.
Yeah.
And now it's like I'm 40 now. I was talking about the weather here on our podcast.
Yeah. Well, I think that one thing that happens is the weather, as you get older, the weather like impacts you more. It's like it's more painful. It's more painful to have the weather. Like the weather is just more painful and annoying because But
I think everything in life is more painful and annoying as you get older, though.
Yeah, that much is true. Like I swear, I hit 50 and it was like the warranty expired and every part of my body started hurting all the time.
Time to go get all those recalls fixed, man.
Yeah, I know. So I'm finally like I've had tennis elbow, I guess, and I finally got a brace that I could wear like when I was going to do anything like pick up heavy things or whatever, and I wore the brace and now it's finally getting better, but it's been like a year that I've had this pain. So anyway, speaking of pain, no, Apple Vision Pro. It's tis the season where everybody is going to start taking theirs back.
Oh yeah,
like, today is the day.
I wanted to say something to Viper yesterday. Like I like to mess with him every once in a while. Like we're friends, but I like to screw with people. It's one of my favorite
Viper
times.
makes himself available for mockage sometimes, though. With like he's like, I'm not going to buy this. And everybody is like, yes, of course you're going to buy it. And then it's whatever it is out for 2 days, and he's like, okay, I went and bought it, but it's just for me. It's not for the channel. Yeah.
Well, it was funny because everybody has been a topic of conversation the last few days, where people have been returning their Apple Vision Pros. It's the latest thing, You buy it, you make your review, you return it because you have no intention of actually owning it. Which I'm like, all right, whatever. But anyway. So I saw he put this long tweet talking about how his was having problems. I'm like, you don't have to make excuses to return it, bro. You can just take it back.
Yeah, I mean,
he's not going to.
That's the thing. Like I did notice last week that several people in my Twitter feed were like, yeah, I haven't touched my Vision Pro in like 3 days or a week or whatever. And it's definitely not the kind of thing that you would just grab and use all the time. If it was like, it's a totally new thing. It's like you're used to sitting at your computer and doing your computer things, right? You're used to sitting in front of your TV and doing your TV things. Vision Pro, what I came to understand about Vision Pro, because I was just kind of like, oh, it's pretty good at some things, but it's not like world shaking. But I kind of used it for a couple of more days and like wore it while I was doing like my morning routine, like go through social media, email, blah, blah, blah,
Brush
stuff like
teeth.
that. Yeah.
Have you brushed your teeth with the Apple Vision Pro on?
I have not done that yet, but I did like film the entire morning of as I was helping the family get out the door to go onto their day. Like I just wore the Vision Pro and recorded it, which I thought was pretty cool. The sad thing about
sorry, go ahead.
The sad thing is like when you record in the Vision Pro, and I guess you can do this also in the iPhone 15, at least the Pro models.
Yeah.
You can record this sort of like 3D spatial content, and when you watch it in Vision Pro, it's 3-dimensional. And which is kind of cool, but then when you take it out of Vision Pro and you put it into a video to try and show people like this, it just looks like, one person on the video that I posted, one person was like, "Well, you could do that with a GoPro." I'm like,
well, I'm sure Apple will come out with some sort of apparatus they'll charge you $300 for, so you can convert it properly.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Quinn from Snazzy Labs. There's no way to connect the Vision Pro physically to anything except for the battery, right? Mm-hmm. So the only way that you can actually have a physical connection that can plug into something else is if you A, sign up to be a developer, that's $100 a year, and B, buy this dongle that goes on the battery port, but it looks like it terminates in USB-A or something. Maybe it's I don't know what it is. because it's not really visible in the pictures.
Here we are in 2024, and I still hate the word dongle. Like, I will use apparatus, accessory.
Yeah.
I just really hate that word.
Yeah. I think that people just got excited by the word dongle in like 2016. And
everything was dongle, 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 dongle.
Yeah. But I mean, it is a dongle. I mean, so, but it costs $300.
I'm going to move to Florida where they don't say dongle.
Yeah, that's because it's, I don't know. I was going to try and make a Florida joke there, but there was no Florida joke really to make off of that.
That's okay.
But yeah, it is definitely a different kind of experience. And I found myself, like, at first I thought, oh, this is kind of like an accessory. You can use it as a standalone entertainment device, or you can use it as kind of as an accessory to hook up to your computer and mirror your screen. And then I start, like, the more I used it, the more I realized, like, there is a sort of spatial computing dimension that you can live in and do stuff. And like the Microsoft Suite is available, all the Apple apps are available. There are a decent number of third-party apps that are either available as Vision Pro apps or available as like iPad apps that have been converted somehow. And if you have enough of that stuff, like I use Apple Notes, so I can go in there and like do some writing. Safari actually works really well in there. It took a long time to be like, okay, I have to look at the address field, and then I have to like click into it, and then I have to use my keyboard, because the little hunt and peck that's virtual keyboard is it's really weird, because you have to actually like. Whereas most things in the operating system, you just kind of like pinch into like space, right? But it makes you like press the virtual buttons pretty distinctly to type.
I was going to say firmly, but you're not actually physically touching anything. So
yeah, it has like a physical, it has a visual representation of when you've depressed the key, but. Yeah, it's not worth doing anything other than like trying to type a word or two. You can do voice typing.
That's one of the big hurdles for me, is I just don't feel like we're far enough yet where we can disconnect from a keyboard. And it's like, it kind of reminds me of the early days, when BlackBerry was like in their heyday, 2006, 2007, and all these companies were trying to either emulate them, which they were not that great. But the biggest thing was they were trying to move to touchscreen. And we got all these crappy touchscreen phones with their rinky-dink like excuses of an OS. But trying to type on a touchscreen phone before the iPhone came out was horrendous.
Yeah.
And then the iPhone came out, and it's like, wow, you can actually type on a screen basically as well as you can a physical keyboard. And that's kind of my hang up with where we're at, and like referring to this as a spatial computing. Like, there are certain ways that you can interact and use the Vision Pro, but as far as me using it as basically a computer replacement, like let's say I needed to really do work on it, we're still like, you're sitting there with the headset on, typing on a Bluetooth keyboard is still the best way to do that.
And I really don't know how to get over that, except like, and this is kind of the thing,
brain implants.
Like, I don't really like it. At first I thought Vision Pro was like meant to be a replacement for something, right? Instead of your computer or your iPad or whatever, Vision Pro was going to take that place. But the more I've used it, the more I've realized that that's not really how it's going to work. Vision Pro is going to have its own separate kind of like space where it does things that the other devices don't do.
Well, it's kind of redefining something that really didn't exist.
Yeah.
So, and it's a really weird way to say something, because redefine means you're defining something that's already been defined.
Right.
But you can't really redefine something that doesn't exist, because we have computing. Like, we've got computing down.
Yeah.
It's this virtual environment, allowing us to work in it seamlessly as if it is reality,
Yeah.
but do it in a way that you can do everything you need to do. And I think, of course, this is the right step. It's
Yeah.
like it's really kind of I think it is a game changer in certain ways. But us as humans, we like to lump things into categories. So our best way to define a new thing is to associate it with an old thing.
Right.
And so we call it spatial computing for familiarity, but really, what is spatial computing?
I mean, the ultimate final version of this, or where Vision Pro as we have it right now is going to develop, it's going to be kind of in the same way that like the iPhone or the iPad developed, where as each of those devices matured, more and more companies recognized opportunities to do things on those devices that couldn't be done before, right? So the iPad became more of a productivity, drawing, like it had.
Well, going back to the original iPads, they were basically just large phones that didn't do phone things. Was so, and that's still a criticism that the iPad Pro gets today, is like it's basically just iPadOS is a big version of iOS. I mean, I get it; they have their own tablet stuff, but I think that what you have with the Vision Pro is obviously it's something that's completely different. So they have to create something new. So the iPad OS is just like, all right, we'll just take iOS and we'll add some multitasking stuff on it, basically, and that's what you get. But I think it'll be interesting probably 5-6 years from now. And we saw this. We talked about this like with the Apple Watch. The Apple Watch 3 really is where I started taking it seriously. They started adding some cool features. And then like the Apple Watch Series 5 is where it really sold me. Like we got the ECG, we got the heart rate monitor, we got the fall detection, we got like a little bit better battery. And so this is Apple Vision Pro Series 1. When we get to Series 4, 5, 6, it'll be lighter, easier to wear, longer battery, all sorts of new functionalities we can't even imagine right now. So right now, where we're at, it's probably not worth $4,000 for most people to go out and buy one. I think for a lot of people, it may just be a novelty, something cool, something fun, something status symbol. Some people will really try, like, find meaningful use out of it, and that'll be great. But it's just like the rich people that were buying the $50,000 flat screen TVs 20 years ago. They're like, somebody's got to pay for this so we can start making it viable.
Yeah, and I mean, on some level, the people who continue to use Vision Pro will be the beta testers of, you can test your system all you want within the confines of like your manufacturing process. But we've seen this with video games. We've seen this with all different kinds of things that, there's got to be a mass user base that can then do things that nobody else is going to think of and find things that nobody else would have considered. And that's just the growing pains of doing it. I mean,
but that's a good thing though, because here's you have the manufacturer and they create something and they want you, they expect you to use it in this manner.
Right.
But there's all sorts of products that we've had in history where it shows up and people use it for something else, and then it's like, why didn't I think of that? That makes so much sense. And then it like propels the platform forward even more.
Well, there's a picture, and I wish I would have it saved just so I could bring it up whenever I talk about this. There's this picture that shows a desk in like 1998, right? And all the things that were on a desk. So you've got your Rolodex and your calculator and all of the things that you had to have.
Your phone, your stapler, your paper clips, like all these things. And now you have this.
You have like this 7-inch like rectangle that's got all that stuff in it, right? And I think that the low-hanging fruit for something like Vision Pro, and maybe it's maybe this form factor is even still going to be viable, but imagine if you're in the workplace and you have to have like different things timed out, and you want to leave sticky notes for yourself and all that kind of thing. Or even if you're a physician, and you have to do different things like in the spatial computing space. You could walk around with Vision Pro and put like your computer monitor beside your actual computer monitor, and then you can walk into the bathroom and like put.
Well, imagine if one day, and I know this is going to be difficult with Apple, but imagine having shared spaces. Like,
Yeah.
let's say you and I are friends, which I know we put on a show here, but in real life,
Yeah,
let's say
yeah.
we were friends,
Yeah.
and we both have Vision Pros, and we share access. Like, we have a virtual environment, and I could visit that virtual environment and like leave a note for you on the desk for tomorrow. Like, hey,
Yeah.
here's the outline for our podcast tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean that would be pretty darn cool.
And in a way, I think like we can do that. Like if we had a running, like say Apple Note that we shared between ourselves, and we could easily work on that within Vision Pro. But I know what you're saying in terms of like a virtual space that feels like you're occupying it.
Like, let's say we created we could create a virtual studio, and we put our Vision Pro on, and we're transported to this place.
Right.
And then, like, I have my work desk, you have your work desk, and like you can set it up and design things how you want. Like, come in there, hang out, drop off. Like, you'd be like, "Hey, I got to go run some errands." I'm like, "All right, I'm working on something," and then I'm like, "Here, leave a list or an app or something like, hey, check this out," and you could come back to the space, and it's there.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that. Well, I know that you can do that in the Meta world.
Yeah. Meta has some stuff like that.
And I remember my friend Pete Matheson did a video where he worked in the Meta space for a whole week, and he'd go to this Meta cafe and work with other people, and they'd be people that he didn't know. They'd just be kind of hanging out in the same virtual space, and so he said in his video he said that it was really interesting, but you could have meetings in there, I guess.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, I can't take it seriously. Like, I see the meta things, I see the meta avatars or characters, and they look like stupid Wii characters to me.
They
like
kind of remind me of Roblox, like somewhere between a Wii character and a Roblox character.
Yeah, I just can't take it seriously. But it will get better. But it's like I keep seeing these persona images. Everybody's like, "Oh, here's my persona image," and it reminds me of like a funeral. Like
yeah, I know it's awful. Have you seen mine?
Oh, it's terrible.
Oh my God, it's so scary.
I saw it. I'm like,
I'm gonna pull up my Photos app so I can share it, because it's really like it doesn't look like this.
I think you shared it on Twitter, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
I could probably pull up on my screen to share with the rest of the class.
Yeah, it's. I took a screenshot. I called my wife on FaceTime.
Oh, here it is.
And had her take a screenshot. And it is.
Here we go. I'll share screen.
It's freaking nightmare fuel.
People need to see this.
Yeah, it's terrible. Oh man. Okay.
Right, so now that we've seen that,
hold on. I didn't see it pop up. Let me.
I didn't. Let me try it again. Okay, share. Can you see it now?
Hold on. Let me. There we go. It is absolute nightmare fuel. I just.
Yeah, I see these things, and it reminds me of like, I hate to bring up something like, but like you go to a funeral and they give you the little thing and it's got the picture of the person on it, and like,
yeah,
that's what these things. Every time I see these, it's what it reminds me of. Did I unshare? It's not sharing the screen anymore, right?
No. But somehow you got. Oh, what's going on here? I'm pressing all these buttons, and now there's like a space for it to be.
Yeah, there's an option down here for share screen that I don't.
Oh no!
Why not take advantage of it? But I keep seeing these things. And I'm like, this is terrible. Actually, Trent, I made that comment, and then he made like one of those little bulletin things with his persona image.
I saw that, and it's pretty frightening. Now, of course, it doesn't quite look like that when you're in the Vision Pro, obviously, or when you're taking the FaceTime call. It is sort of a 3-dimensional thing, but it doesn't. It just. I did it
Here,
3 times. I did
I
it
got
three
it.
times.
I found the one Trent did. I got to share this.
Yeah.
All right. Can you see?
Yeah, let me. I'll put it up with picture in picture. So there. See now, his looks halfway decent, right? I mean, it looks halfway decent, but
Yeah. Rip Trenton's tech. Anyway, it's
it,
just it's
it,
ridiculous.
I just, yeah, it. I don't know if it's like the amount of hair or the glass. Like I couldn't wear my glasses, and so they give you the option to pick glasses, but they're just like these little translucent frames, and you can't pick any colors or anything like that. Meanwhile, like the Memojis that Apple sold us, like remember when they were doing like facial recognition
Oh yeah,
and
when they tried to rip off Bitmoji and then created the
yeah,
Memojis, and like it would use the face scanner for your mouth, so it would move
yeah,
in
and
time with your talking.
yeah, and like that that works really well. Let me see if I okay. Let me
It
see if I
does.
can,
I like the Memojis. I think that they should have just used the Memojis. I think that would be less
or at least give you an
weird.
option until it's out of beta, right?
Yeah, yeah, that would
Because
be great. Like, let us use the Memojis. They're already there. It's already built up. I mean, why not just use that instead of these disturbing, like from the afterlife images?
yeah, it's really I don't even know what to say about it. Because I did try 3 times and it wasn't easy either. Because maybe it's the beard. I don't know what it was struggling with, but it makes you like look at it and at first because you have to hold it out in front of your face like this, right?
Hmm.
And then it's looking at the
Star
front
Trek Side
screen.
Out.
Yeah, the front screen is looking at you, and the cameras are trying to scan your face. And it kept telling me to like make a neutral expression, and I'm like sitting there just like,
Like my face is a neutral expression all the time.
and so and then it like the turning of the head and the up and the down and all this other stuff. Like when you do Face ID for the iPhone or for the iPad, it's pretty fine. It's pretty easy, and it was even easy at launch. But this was a little bit more challenging, and I, I can't see myself wanting to go into a virtual space and use that as my representation, you know.
Hmm. Yeah,
So yeah, there are definitely things that are not quite ready for prime time. Um, but I've already
but it'll get better.
in the week and a half or so that I've had it, Apple's updated it twice. And then I know there's a beta update for Personas that, I don't know what that'll change.
Have you ever
So
seen the movie The Postman with Kevin Costner?
I have, but I read the book first. It's a
There's a
good
book.
book. Yeah.
I need to read the book because it's one of my favorite movies. I love. I'm a big Kevin Costner fan, but I love the
Yeah.
movie The Postman. And remember, there's a phrase in there because he made up this President Starkey guy,
Right.
who was supposedly this mythical president who was putting the United States back together.
Right.
And he says the saying was, "Things are getting better. They're getting better every day."
Yeah.
And that's
Right.
how I feel about the Vision Pro.
Yeah, and it is. And the thing that has surprised me about it is just how much like it had to be a shift in my thought process about using it more than like an improvement of the device that got me more excited about it. But still, like, I've made several videos about it already. I've made 15 videos that are just like little 1 to 2 minute videos, sort of asking or answering questions that people have and that kind of thing. And then I have my full. It's a review, but it's sort of like my I was wrong about Vision Pro video. I mean,
So
I
when are
hate
you
it when
going to do your "I'm switching to Apple Vision Pro" video?
I might try and wear it and do everything in it for like a week and
You
see what
should.
happens.
I did this for a video. Sometimes when I'm feeling a little spry and I'm not just sitting in front of my camera on my desk, I like to do it when I travel. I like to do vlogs. So like when I go to New York City for like OnePlus launch, or I go out to other places, I like to make vlogs.
Right.
And I started one off one day. Oh, I do a vlog every year for the iPhone release. I'll get
Right.
up and it's like part of my morning routine, my drive down there, like my 0 to 60 in my car, and like just going to the Apple store. And like I started off one like brushing my teeth this
Right.
last go
Yeah.
around and doing all that stuff. You should do one of those with the Apple Vision Pro. Like wake up in the morning and you like getting out of bed, it's so on your face, and you're brushing
Yeah.
your teeth with your Vision Pro on.
Yeah. It would be fun to do like a day in the life with the Vision Pro, but actually like
I
have
haven't
the
seen one of
Vision
those.
Pro. Well, I know your average consumer did one.
Yeah, he always does that, but I
That's
mean,
his thing. Yeah.
yeah.
And he found that he could use the Tesla app in his Vision Pro to like summon his Tesla. Which, I mean, on one hand, it's like, okay, that's pretty cool. But on the other hand, it's like, okay, it's an app and that's what it's supposed to do. So the only difference is you're wearing that thing on your face. Right?
Yeah, I've had a Tesla for 2 years now, and I've never tried to summon it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I tried. So my wife, she has a Tesla as well, and she has her own Tesla channel. And I was her personal like recorder person for a lot of the videos that she would make. And we went out to an empty parking lot so she could test out the summon feature. We made a video, and I wasn't otherworldly impressed with the efficiency of it at that point in time. So
Right.
I can only imagine. But yeah, that would be
Well,
funny to do a summon video with the Vision Pro.
it did work, but like I really like like using the camera on the Vision Pro to record things. So everything would be like from my vantage point, the whole video. You know? Like
Well, you're going to need to just use your iPhone.
mhm.
Just so, can you make it where it uses like your iPhone as like a camera, where like you can see what's on your iPhone?
I don't know. That's one
Like,
thing that I think your average consumer pointed out. Like you can't make phone calls on Vision Pro,
really?
which is
This seems
yeah.
like something would be a given.
I mean, it seems like you should be able to tether your iPhone to your Vision Pro and make a phone call. You can do that on the Mac. I'm sure you can do it on like the iPad, but I've always found trying to take phone calls on my Mac like really challenging. But that for
I
me, I have like, a bunch of different things that are speakers and microphones.
I
Whereas like
don't do that, but my thought process is you can use your computer in the
right,
virtual space of Vision Pro. Why wouldn't you be able to use your phone? Like you would think that that would be something that you. So I mean, you could still use FaceTime when somebody calls you, like if they don't want to look at your persona.
yeah, yeah,
So like I could see applications for being able to do that, like I'm talking about now, where okay, if you have the Vision Pro on, it's kind of hard to see what you're doing on your phone.
yeah,
So you could like that's how you could record yourself, for the funny video.
yeah. And I guess like the way that it would maybe make sense that you can't make phone calls on Vision Pro is that you can very easily make FaceTime calls.
But that's only for people who have an iPhone, and I can only see this. I can only imagine using my
Yeah,
brain.
yeah,
You know how we have blue bubble, green bubble
mm,
conversations now. We know that the Vision Pro is going to start this space race for virtual and
yeah,
augmented. What happens whenever we have another viable platform, like let's say the Android of Vision Pros,
right.
and then but they don't communicate with each other, and then we have this blue bubble, green bubble crap all over again, but in the virtual space.
Well, I mean, we've had it on every level. We've had Microsoft, like Windows versus Mac, right?
Hmm.
We've had Android versus iPhone.
Now I have a
Um,
Vision Pro versus Ethereal Pro, whatever they're going to call it. I don't know. I'm
the
sure
thing
the
is,
Android.
the thing that's interesting is like one of the reasons that Apple could successfully create this product is because they have all that vertical integration of all the different parts and all the software and all the stuff, and so
Well,
they
it
have
helps being a
that.
$1 trillion company.
Yeah, but I mean that's always been the difference between Microsoft and Apple was always vertical
Ecosystem.
versus horizontal integration of. So Microsoft uses vendors to do the things other than software, or at least that's been their
Well,
traditional path, right?
all this was built on the foundation of Apple Silicon, which they came out with the M1, what about 4 years ago now?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
this has been, they had the software, they had the ecosphere, they had the individual hardware, the phone, the earbuds, the watch, the tablet, the laptop, and now you bring all that in, you use all these decades of expertise, already you have an instant audience bought into Apple,
yeah.
and then you create the Vision Pro, and then it builds on top of all those other things. So that's why I was kind of assumed it would integrate the phone better. Like you would think that that would have been kind of a thing, but I guess they really want you to just use the headset itself. It's probably why.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that is like a weird kind of oversight, but I don't understand why. I don't understand why it's built in that you can connect to your computer, but you can't, like mirror your iPhone or your iPad screen, right? That's
Maybe it's
obvious.
kind of like a maybe it's kind of like just the design. Maybe it's what they, because they probably feel that if you, this is supposed to like kind of replace a lot of what those things do.
Or at
So
least augment them in a way that they can't.
exactly. So, but if you're still relying on your phone as a crutch and not using it in the Vision Pro space, it
Yeah,
kind of reminds me of what I talk about with the Z Fold. And everybody's like, this, the front screen sucks. The front screen sucks. And I'm like, here we are 4 or 5 years later. I'm like, you do know that Samsung calls the interior screen the main screen, right? Like you're
right.
supposed to
Yeah,
be the big screen. That's the whole purpose of the phone. The outside screen is the secondary display. So,
yeah, and I understand people's frustration with that screen particularly because it is even last year when they made it slightly bigger, it is something that I think the Pixel Fold was sort of an eye opener for me in that the Pixel Fold folded is still like a good single screen handheld phone, right? But opened up, it takes on a whole other deal.
well, it's kind
And
of like
Sam,
a dichotomy change. It's like a complete different way of kind of doing things, but similar in a different space.
yeah, yeah. And with the Galaxy Folds, I always felt like I could only effectively do certain things on the outside screen, and beyond that, I'd want to open it. And I like having the choice because you're not always in a position, like whether you're driving or you're like out at a restaurant or whatever, you're not always in a position to like open up your big phone and like and do
Well, I
stuff. So
appreciate that you have full functionality on the
yeah,
front screen, as opposed to, let's say, the Z Flip 5. If you don't install Good Lock, the front screen on the Z Flip 5 is mostly useless, other than still notifications and some widgets.
right.
And but the Z Fold 5, you have full functionality. I mean, you can play PUBG on the front screen if you want. I mean, much to
Yeah,
your detriment. I mean, it would be a sucky experience, but you can do it.
right.
But it's funny though, because everyone's like, "Oh, I love having the exterior screen on a Z Flip," but then you open it up to do business. But no, no, no. On the Z Fold 5, people want to complain all night and day about the front screen. I'm like, that's not the point.
I guess it's because like the idea for me with the Z Flip is similar to the idea with just like a regular flip phone. Like it's compact and you can look at it if you get like a notification, it'll say like what it is, and then you can decide if you want to like open your phone and do something with it. Whereas like the paradigm of the Z Fold is more of like a regular smartphone where you can get like I don't know, it's the mindset of using a flip phone is like different than the mindset of using a slab
Well,
phone.
I think it's because we've gone through that. I mean,
Yeah,
remember when flip phones first came out and they were so great because instead of having like the Zach Morris Saved by the Bell phone or the
right.
Nokia brick, you could see on the front screen who was calling and you didn't
Yeah,
have to open it up. You could just silence it or you could press the button and do speakerphone or you didn't have to wear a watch. You could just pull your phone out and be like, "Oh, there's the time. Oh,
yeah,
look at that. I've got the date."
yeah,
So, we already have this natural inclination to use it that way
yeah,
as opposed to the fold. But I'm like, I get that you're upset about the front screen, but I mean, you can open it up.
yeah. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what Samsung does with the 6 because
Everything I'm seeing right now with the rumors and the leaks look pretty appealing.
yeah. Yeah, I think that they can't not respond to the design of the Pixel Fold on some
Or
in
even
some way.
also the OnePlus Open. Like the
Well,
OnePlus
yeah.
Open was much more competitive, I think, for most folks. Like the Pixel showed up, but it had its drawbacks.
Yeah.
There was things that people like I were particularly frustrated that it had the Tensor G2, kind of like some more outdated stuff, and they just
Right.
felt like they kind of hodgepodge it together and sold it for $1,800.
Yeah.
And then the OnePlus Open showed up, and everyone's like, "Wow, this is impressive."
And it what I had that phone and I got to say like it wasn't that it was impressive for a OnePlus phone.
It was impressive. Period.
Yeah, it was impressive overall. Like to me, if I had to choose between the foldables of last year,
Hmm.
I think if it were just about form factor, I might prefer the Pixel. But if it's about overall like utility and having all the right stuff, then I would go for the OnePlus Open over the Z Fold 5.
For me, I still rely. I use the S Pen a lot,
Yeah,
and my thing is like the OnePlus Open is basically OnePlus's slightly modified version of Oppo's Find N3.
right.
But see, the Find N3 though actually has a stylus that you can get over in China, whereas they didn't bring that over here. I still heavily use the S Pen with the Z Fold, so that gives me the leg up there for usability. I
Right.
use it so. But if the OnePlus Open 2.0 comes out this year and they actually have a legitimate S Pen, like we know they could do it. We've seen the stylus that they have with their tablet. They
Yeah.
could very well implement something. And if they do, Samsung has to respond in a big way this year. Like they've really kind of rested on their laurels the last couple of years and like, oh, we'll make it a little flatter. And we'll try.
I get the sense that they wanted to iterate a little bit more and kind of like work the kinks out. And that
Mhm.
makes sense. But now you're on version 6 and all of your competitors in the Android space, like at least in all of the North American competitors in the Android space, have come up with their own versions of a foldable phone.
And they're more
So
innovative.
yeah, I mean the OnePlus Open to me was minus the stylus aspect of it. Um,
Better
it was
phone.
a pleasure. It was a pleasure to use. I felt like the operating system didn't get in the way as much as I mean Samsung's overlay is still like super heavy at times.
It is,
And
but I think finally it has the horsepower to manage it.
yeah. Oh yeah,
Like 3 or 4 years
from
ago, it felt clunky, but now it feels pretty darn good.
yeah. I mean, I've still got my S24 Ultra and I haven't because I've been like doing Vision Pro stuff, I haven't really gotten to dig into that as much as I'd wanted to. So I don't have it fully set up and I'm not using it every day right now. But I will say that, and I don't know if this has been the case before, but I keep getting ads in my notifications for like
I
games
believe
and like
there's I
there's
believe
probably a
there's a
way to shut it off.
setting
But
you can turn that
yeah,
off. But it is annoying. Like Samsung has gotten flack for years for forcing their own advertisements onto your
yeah.
phone. I'm like, I already bought the phone from you, stupid. Like, why are you giving me an ad for the phone I already bought?
Well,
But two, it's intrusive.
and these are things like, hey, do you want to play this game? It's like, no, I don't want to freaking play that game. Like, if I want to play the game, I'll go open the game. But I have a feeling that, especially with the games, there's the pay to play aspect of it, and people maybe the game developers pay Samsung extra to push notifications about their games onto
They
the
may, they may very well, but I think we're going to see the substantial changes. I think they're going to make it a little flatter. I think they're going to make the front screen a little wider. I'm hoping we get an internal slot for the S Pen.
hmm,
They absolutely need to make it where you can use the S Pen on the front screen. Like
Yeah.
I get so tired. Like it makes no sense. Like why can we not do this? It
Yeah.
seems like it would be intuitive, but I think their hand is finally being forced because
Mm.
this last year the Pixel Fold in many ways was very inventive, and I appreciated what they did there. And then the OnePlus Open, and you hit the nail on the head. A lot of people look at a OnePlus phone and go, "Wow, that's a nice phone," but it's a OnePlus.
For a One
And
Plus
the
phone. Yeah.
OnePlus Open, yeah, it's good for a OnePlus phone.
Right.
But the OnePlus Open was so good, everybody was like, not saying, "Hey, this is good for OnePlus." They're saying, "Wow, this is fantastic."
Yeah.
And I think Samsung really set them up to tee that off in a big way because they've been so stagnant with their design the last 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah. They definitely have to respond this year, and it'll be interesting to see how they do. Um, I do like the minor design changes that they've made on the S24 line. The S24 Ultra, to me, form factor wise, is a very satisfying phone to hold. And like the iPhone is also satisfying to hold in its own way, and I think Apple, by using titanium and making it a little thinner and a little lighter, really helped themselves
I
in
gotta.
the iPhone 15 line.
Have you talked to the Nomad folks? Have they sent you anything recently?
I have an email in my inbox from Chuck about getting one of those magnetic case backs,
Yes.
which
So
looks super sexy. Yeah.
this is not sponsored by Nomad, but I will say this though: if you ever look at Nomad's products, they make some really premium stuff. I've worked with them for years, and this guy he manages their product stuff, Chuck over there, good friend of mine.
Yeah.
They're some of the great, like nicest people to work with, and they make
Yeah.
really good products.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem saying like check out Nomad stuff, but they sent me this thing, and I got it a couple days ago, and I was hesitant at first because it's just a back piece.
Yeah.
It's got their Horween leather, which is really nice. It develops the patina, all those things, and but it doesn't have any protection on the sides. I have my screen protector on the front, and then it just goes on the back, and it looks so nice, but it's
Yeah.
not bulky, and you still get that back protection. And this combined with my Apple Care, I'm like, I love this because you get almost that naked feeling with carrying your
Yeah.
phone, but it's still protected, and it looks sexy. I
Yeah.
like this a lot. Like I don't know how it took them so long to come up with this,
Well,
or like why nobody.
nobody thought of it before. I mean, MagSafe has
No,
been on what, like the last 3 versions of the iPhone,
yeah.
I think.
So the other thing, just for note, like it's compatible with MagSafe. It has the magnet, like that's how it connects.
Yeah.
But it has these little sticky tiles where you
Mm.
can take off the adhesive strip, and mine's affixed,
Right.
so mine won't just pop off. But I love this. I'm all about it.
Yeah, and I meant to reply to the email the other day when it came in, but I'm gonna definitely get him my address so that he can send me one, because I mean I've always liked their stuff, and I've known Chuck, for a bunch of years, but just never really made the connection to do that stuff. So I I think it's going to be really, really.
I wonder if
I
they're going to
think
make any Vision Pro accessories. That would be pretty cool.
I don't know. And that's another thing that I've been curious about is like, what will a Vision Pro accessory market look like? I mean, we already have people like Belkin made like a, I'm
Strap.
calling it the Vision Pro fanny pack. It's like a thing that you can strap across your body with the battery in it, And so
I've
Belkin
seen
has made
somebody.
that. And I first saw the only time I've seen it was Justine was showing it off in a video, and I was just like, that
Just wait
looks,
for
it
just wait for
looks like,
Balenciaga to make one.
yeah. I mean, are we gonna get third party headbands? Maybe, because one thing I'll say is the speakers on this thing are very good, and they do an incredible job. Like if you're watching video, they do an incredible job of creating that spatial audio thing, without having them over your ears or in your ears. So it's a
Mhm.
much more realistic kind of spatial audio.
Well, we've
But
had some experience with this when it comes to, let's say, the XR glasses.
yeah,
Rokid and X-Real, like they're getting pretty decent at that that directed audio where it
Yeah.
goes kind of straight in your ears.
This is the best that I mean, those guys have done a really good job. Of course, those devices are totally different use case, totally different price point. Like, you know, they don't try and be something as aspirational as Vision Pro does. But like, the thing that's really crazy about this is it just kind of like the sound has no noticeable like direction. Like, you don't know that it's coming from these speakers that are right above your ears. It's just a 3D space.
That's pretty cool.
And that's really great. But I would love to see companies making things like headbands with headphones on them.
You know what I want to see? I want to see like aftermarket designs for these things where you can put them on there. Like, I would love to have a Vision Pro that looks like a 1980s like ski slope visor.
Yeah.
Like the neon colors all around it.
I want a helmet. I want a Vision Pro helmet that I can just put on and then tighten it onto my face. And so, but yeah, I mean, even this is the hard part, right? Because even though I'm really enjoying it, and even though I feel like I want to keep it to use it, I want to keep it to continue to make content and talk about it as it develops and new things happen. But man, that almost $4,000 hole in the credit card is it's scary, you know?
You know, I could, like, hypothetically, let's say I could hypothetically have $100,000 in my checking account, and I don't. I mean, I'm poor, but I if I were to go buy one, it would still eat a hole in my heart that it costs that much.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't care how much I enjoy it, it would still burn in the back of my brain how much it costs.
Yeah, I know. And I mean, that is, and I've told people, I was saying this the other day, like, the price really doesn't matter. And the people who are comparing it to Quest 3 and saying like, well, Quest 3 is only $500 and it gives you 90% of the experience. Like, I've now used the Vision Pro for long enough, and I'm familiar enough with the Quest products and you know, the other stuff that's out there, that I can say that what Vision Pro brings to the table in terms of like how well it does what it does, but then also the immersive environment stuff that it can do, and all kinds of different things. It's not a gaming device. It's you know, so I think that
when people talk about that, it's like saying, okay, I get that fundamentally in certain ways it can do some of the same things and replicate similar experiences. But trying to say the Quest 3 is 90% of what the Vision Pro is like saying that a Delta 88 can do the same thing that a Tesla Model 3 does.
Yeah. I mean, the comparison that I made was, okay, so you would never equate, you would never say something like a Toyota Corolla is 90% of a Corvette.
Land Rover.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it'll get you from A to B, and you still have a radio, and you still have a seatbelt, but it's not quite the same experience.
And the thing, you know, the argument that people came back with is like, well, there are more than just those two cars. I'm like, yeah, but the thought experiment here is that, like, saying that the Corolla, in this case the Quest 3, is in any way like comparable to the Vision Pro in the whole, like, holistically. I mean, and of course Mark Zuckerberg's video sort of stoked this fire.
Well, he got trolled pretty heavily for that.
Well, I mean, but some people were, I mean, it seemed like it was even numbers of people like making fun of him because he's so make funnable, you know.
Oh yeah, I can't stand Zuckerberg, but I mean, I just like on a human level, like, I don't have any animosity towards him, but as a public figure, like, I'm not a Zuckerberg fan.
Yeah, he is the nerd that you like made spitballs at in elementary school. You know, you shot spitballs at.
You know, it's funny when I think about stuff like that. I remember when I was in law school, and we got done with classes one night, and I was an orchestrator of drinking beer after law school on occasion, and we called them like Justice League meetings. We would go out and go to Buffalo Wild Wings after law school,
Yeah.
and it was funny because one person did not go one night, and they stopped on the third floor, and the elevator opened. They got off, and like, where are you going? We're going to go out and get some wings and have a beer. And like, oh, I'm going to the library to study. And then somebody just yelled out of the elevator, "Nerd!"
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like we're not all
Exactly.
nerds,
Yeah.
but I mean, it was
Yeah.
funny.
I mean, but Zuckerberg, like, he kind of put himself in a position to be made fun of with that video, and he made some good points in the video, but his ultimate thesis being that the Quest 3 is a better product than the Vision Pro.
Apparently, the Apple Vision Pro doesn't think so.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It's taking umbrage with that, and I don't think it's even a fair conversation. And so I don't want to give people the impression that, like, well, if you don't want to spend $4,000, go spend $500 and you'll have a similar experience. Like,
It depends on what you're going for. If you want to have an augmented reality experience where you can use it for things and put a window up of YouTube, you can play some games. Like, there are certain things you can do on it that I think are really good for
yeah,
$500.
yeah,
But I don't think that the equation can be made between the two products to say one is the alternative to the other.
no, no, and again, I don't think it's fair to either product to make that comparison.
Well,
Um,
it creates a negative stigma. It's like, okay, so you're saying, by saying that the Quest 3 is a better product than the Vision Pro, it's like saying, okay, this $500 product is better than this $4,000 product. It makes
yeah,
it look
and
inferior. But on the other way, you're like, oh well, by I think by saying that the Vision Pro or the Quest 3 is just as good, makes the Quest look way better than it actually is.
yeah, I think if you were to say something like the Quest 3 is a better value than the Vision Pro, like that's clear because $4,000 for a Gen 1 product versus $500 for a Gen 3 product, like it's going to
Yeah.
offer you, but is it going to offer you in the long run more utility? I
But
don't think it will.
I don't even know if you can say it's a better value because it's still not giving you what you're trying to get. Like, I don't see it as a substitute. I see them as two individual platforms. And
Yeah.
that's like saying, okay, you're 10 years old and the Super Nintendo comes out and you want a Super Nintendo and you want Mario Kart. All your friends are playing it. And your parents are like, but I got a good deal on this Sega Genesis that came out 2 years ago and I got you Wacky Wheels.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's just not, it's similar, but it's not what you're going for.
Or, like all your, now, this is not as much an issue now with crossplay and things, but back in like Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 times, if all your friends are playing Halo on the Xbox 360 and your parents go buy you a PlayStation, it's like, well, the PlayStation has a Blu-ray player in it. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's great, but I can't play Halo with my friends, right?
Yeah.
And
Or I
and
think it's a good way. Here's a good way to look at it. You've got the Xbox Series X now. And it's like, okay, the Xbox Series X, and you want an Xbox Series X. You ask for it for Christmas, and then your parents get you a Switch Lite. And they're like, oh, but you can play you can play what is it? What is the game? Oh, Skyrim. Like, you can play Skyrim or Witcher 3 you can play it
yeah,
on the Nintendo Switch, but it's not going to be the same experience.
no, and I mean that's the thing about Nintendo is Nintendo has always been like they make games that the whole thing, the hardware, the software, everything is like its own experience. And bringing third-party things into the Nintendo space is always
Creates
less.
issues.
Yeah, it's less of an experience than you could have on a similar price device.
Well, when you look at Nintendo games, Nintendo is all about the gaming experience. They're about their own IP. So Mario, Zelda, Metroid, Donkey Kong, all that stuff.
Yep.
And they're not designed like Mario's not supposed to look like a real human being. He's supposed to look like a Nintendo character.
Right.
So you don't need a 4090 and 16 gigs of VRAM to do
Yeah.
that.
You don't
But
need
the
no ray
problem is,
tracing.
but then you have kids that want to play Watch Dogs and they have a Nintendo Switch, so they'll put it on there, and then it's like you're playing it at 25 frames per second. It looks
Yeah.
grainy. It can kind of do it, but it's not what its intended purpose is. And nobody that really wants a Xbox Series X or a PS5 is probably going to be happy if they're for Christmas unwrap a Switch Lite. As
Yeah.
much as the Switch Lite is a great console, it's great.
Yeah.
I have one. It's great for playing Nintendo games, but
And
that's
it has its utility in a certain space, you know. But I think that when you start to compare the Quest 3 and the Vision Pro, there's so much more upside with Vision Pro. Like Vision Pro is only going to get better at doing the things that it's only like sort of scratching the surface of right now. And when I say that, I'm thinking about like the totally immersive video experiences where you're in a 360 environment inside of the video. Like
I think my experience with this is when I bought a Quest 3 for my kids for Christmas. And I put it on the other day. I played around with it, and at no point when I put that on was there a wow, this is amazing experience. It's this is neat.
Yeah.
And then you look at the Vision Pro, and it's like, wow, this is amazing.
I think even if you just went into the Apple Store and like signed up to do the demo that they run in there, you're gonna get. I mean, they're obviously going to showcase the killer apps that it has available to it now, like the immersive video.
But I guarantee you go in there and do that experience, you're going to be like, wow.
Yeah, yeah. It like literally. I remember it takes your breath away because it gives you sort of like a little opening trailer and takes you through some of the things that it can do with that immersive video, and so it shows you like you're in a paddock with rhinos. And,
it's really cool.
And then like you're like mountain climbing with this woman who's walking across a crevasse on a rope, and you can look down and and you get vertigo. Like it's like it creates an alternative space.
So the moral of the story is go to your local Apple store and sign up for the demo because it's cool. But taking that back to the experience, I was like, okay, I've used the Quests. I've used the Quest 2.
Yeah.
I checked out the Quest 3, and I'm like, yeah, this is cool, but it's not a wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. I've been tempted, like I still have my Oculus Rift S, and so I've been tempted to plug it into my computer and like use that a little bit just to like get, because the Rift S, I mean the Quest products were kind of a step down in some ways from the Oculus Rift. I mean the Oculus Rift, you had to plug it into the computer, and you had to like there was a lot more horsepower. Yeah, so I've been tempted to plug it in to my PC just to kind of check that experience out as compared to what I now am more familiar with the Vision Pro.
Make sure you use
and maybe I'll do that. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. But yeah, it's been an interesting couple of weeks because I went from like when they announced it, super excited. Then as it got closer to launch and I realized like it didn't seem like it was going to have as much stuff, I was like, oh, maybe I don't need it. And then, basically being shamed by the audience into going
How
and buying
dare
it.
you have thoughts and feelings?
It's like, you can't have any thoughts until you have the actual experience. It's like, so I went and did it. And at first I was like, this is cool, but still like more of a proof of concept kind of demo kit thing, right?
How dare you not take that video down?
Yeah, I know. I can't believe.
Well, it's funny to me. I think people think that we make millions of dollars off of these videos. I would wager to say that how many views does that video have?
I don't know, maybe like 10 or 20,000, something like that. I haven't looked at it for a while.
I would wager to say you probably made $30 on that video.
Maybe.
Like people seem to think like, oh, you just leave that video up so we can make money.
Yeah.
There are no affiliate sales for Apple products through the Apple Store, which means we can't even sell these things.
Yeah.
And your AdSense was probably $20.
Yeah.
But people are like, oh no, you gotta leave it up there so you get all them views and make all that money.
Yeah. It's
That's not how this business works, bro.
especially with Apple stuff. I mean, it's always nice when something that you talk about you can get some kind of affiliate money from. It's always nice to have that as an added bonus. But when you talk about Apple products, unless you're doing accessories and it's third party accessories, like there's no affiliate program for Apple. God, I wish there was, man. Imagine what 5% of like $3,500 would be.
Well, I think when you take a look at audience perception of our thoughts and impressions on things, they seem to think that they're motivated by a bias or motivated because we have a financial incentive. I made a video the other day about the Think phone, which I spent $399 and I bought the Motorola Think phone.
Right.
And I was like, this is a great alternative, even in 2024, to the S24 Plus. Like, you could get this phone for $399, or you can pay $999 or $1299 for the Ultra.
Yeah.
And then somebody commented, sponsored by Motorola. I'm like, sponsored by my wallet. I bought this. This is, I genuinely think this way. And they're like, well, you have an affiliate link down here, so clearly you're making this video to make money. I'm like, look, I put affiliate links in my videos because if somebody was found the video that I made helpful, then they can just click on it and they can buy it if they want. I'm not trying to sell products. I'm just trying to help. Like, if it's there, if you are interested in this.
The thing that I think people get maybe a little bit mixed up with when it comes to like affiliate links and stuff like that, I think that people somehow think that providing affiliate links is us somehow trying to like milk them for money.
Yeah, it's funny though. So like, just put context on that. I do get affiliate commission for Lenovo and Motorola products, but it's like 3%.
Yeah.
If somebody bought one of those phones, and I think I made $12 or something like that. Yeah. I'm like, there's not meaningful. It's not what that's not what it's about.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like when you do this thing, you have to make money in a lot of different ways, even if it's just a little bit of money in a lot of different places. It's just the way that you have to do it in order to stay afloat. And so affiliates, like the whole idea is if I make a video or you make a video that somebody says, hey, I got the information I wanted from this, or I enjoyed watching this, I can click on the affiliate link and Jason or Adam will get, whatever percentage that they
right, because they want to support us because they appreciate. Okay, because some people are very thoughtful, they're very appreciative of our time. Like, look, I spent $1,299 on this phone. I've spent weeks reviewing it so I can make a video out of it, and they're like, okay, I like your platform. I appreciate the video that you made. It doesn't cost me any extra money. The link's here. I'll click on it, and it helps support you so you can continue to go buy these expensive phones to make these videos for me that I watch for free. Yeah. So it's like a symbiotic relationship in some ways, but no, it's not. We don't make videos motivated to make money. We make videos to help people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the money thing is sort of like, at first you're kind of like, well, people make money at doing this. Maybe someday I'll make some money. But I think the best way to put it is that like 90-something% of all videos on YouTube get fewer than 1,000 views. So to be fortunate enough to get 10 or 20,000 views is you're like in the top 3% of all people on YouTube.
It's ridiculous.
But it doesn't mean you're rich, No.
No, those people are like Mr. Beast and people who make a lot of I didn't realize it was depressing. Like, I bought my Supra. I had a 2020 Supra that I bought 2.5 years ago. And I wanted a Supra for a long time. Like, I love this car. I did all this research. I had money saved. And I put a down payment. I bought it. And I had been watching a bunch of videos on it. It took me till I was 37 years old.
Yeah.
And retired from the military and being an attorney and doing YouTube before I could go buy a Supra. And then I saw this video with this kid's face that popped up. It's like, I got my dream car at 17. I clicked on the video. It was the exact same car. And
Yeah.
I was like, what kind of videos does this kid make? And he made Fortnite videos, and they were getting like 2 million views a pop. And he was putting them out like every other day. I'm like, God, like, where did I go wrong with my life?
Yeah, I mean, there are two. I think when you do content creation, it's probably this way for every profession. There are people who are motivated to make money, and then there are people who are motivated to put something out into the world, right? And if you do this for a living, you have to kind of rectify those two things together on some level so that you can do both. But I think that most of the people in the tech space are not making tech videos to get rich. They're just nerds. They're just nerds that like this stuff.
Especially you or I, who are going and spending like $40,000 a year buying these products to review.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I did spend like over 30 in 2022. I spent over $35,000 on tech, and that let me tell you. I mean, yes, I can write that stuff off at tax time, but let me tell you, it still costs money. And it's a pretty hefty percentage of what I make in a year doing this. So it's like, if I got everything for free and all I had to do was sit here and make videos, and then maybe I would get rich. But
well, the problem with that is the type of videos you have to make to get everything for free.
Yeah, I know. That is the problem. And again, people make different kinds of choices about what they will and won't do when it comes to the things that they do. And I think both you and I have made choices about what we will and won't do for money. And
well, I don't discredit anybody. Everybody has their platform. Everybody does what they do. But the problem is with the particular level of honesty and the way we present our feelings on products at times does cause us to not get sent things for free.
Yeah. I mean,
which is fine.
Yeah. I mean, it's a choice that you make. You're kind of like, well, okay, if I say these things, then maybe I won't ingratiate myself to the companies that, could help me along the way if I wanted to go in that direction. But it is what it is. Speaking of is what it is, though, I got to get out of here so I can get to an appointment.
Yeah, I got to go drive across town right now myself too. But always a pleasure.
Yes, absolutely, and a pleasure to be with you, the fine audience out there. We're going to be back again next week with another one of these things. Maybe we'll talk more about the Vision Pro. I don't know.
I will probably have something to talk about. I'm actually going to be out of town next week, so we'll have to record before I go out of town and post it, pre-record it, because I'm going to Mobile World Congress.
Oh yeah,
next week. I leave on Wednesday and I'll be gone for 8 days.
Okay.
But I'm taking a drop off in Gay Paris with my wife for a few days before Barcelona starts, which is where Mobile World Congress is at.
Nice.
I don't want to make it sound like I'm jet setting around the world, but when I looked at the plane tickets, when I bought my plane ticket to go to MWC, they had round trip airfare with British Airways from Houston to Barcelona for $450 after taxes.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, honey, you want to go the week after Valentine's Day? You can go with me for a few days and you can fly home and I'll stay here for work. Because normally it cost me like $1,300 for one ticket.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is a great deal. Let's take advantage of it. So
yeah. No, and one of these days I'm going to get myself off to Mobile World Congress. I haven't been to Europe since the year 2000.
We'll make it happen next year. We'll manifest this into happening next year. Yes. Next year we'll send a podcast live from Barcelona.
Yeah, that'll be good. But anyway, thanks so much, folks, for being here, watching, listening, whatever it is that you're doing. Once again, thanks. I already said thanks. Once again, my name's Jason. Sometimes there's the JTL. We got Adam from Tech Odyssey here, as always, co-hostages. And we'll be back next week with something equally exciting. But until then, we are out.